Hi everyone, thank you for joining me again. I am making chicken soup. It's not the prettiest stuff in the jar, as you can see here. The chicken makes it stringy looking, and I didn't have any carrots. But I have lots of potatoes. I decided to can me up a couple jars of soup. I know a couple jars don't seem like much to people, but for me and my household, it's quite a bit. You know, every little bit counts. I know there's a challenge out there, every little bit counts, but I've always said that, you know, just a little bit here and there. These add up after a while. I also canned with those 2 jars of chicken soup beans, and if you noticed, a lot of liquid in there. I did that on purpose. You're like, no, not enough beans. Well, I did this on purpose because this is a test for me. I want to see how this does with cornbread dumplings. So I wanted the liquid in here because this is for that. This is for my dumplings. I want my dumplings to absorb some of that, you know, that flavor. Because I don't strain my beans out. I just dump the jar in and heat it up. But the next several jars, because I've got to make more, the next several jars I will do properly, you know, but these 2 I just wanted to try and see how it went. And I needed a couple spaces filled for where I did my chicken soup, because my canner only takes 4 quarts. You know, that's it, and it prefers wide mouth. Well, I did both. But anyway, I'll talk you through this because it's one of those days. You did not want to see bedhead. You think it's scary now. Woo! You don't want to see bedhead here. But I jarred all this up, and I'll show you how I did it and the recipe that I have for it that I use in my chicken soups. And what I'll do, I do not add noodles or rice with this because you are not supposed to can pasta and rice. It's a big no-no. Or dairy. You're just not supposed to. But you can add it to it when you heat it up. So that's what I do. I'll heat it up, and I'll add my noodles or my rice at that time. I mean, it doesn't hurt to add it to it later. It's, you know, at least your rice and your pasta won't be so mushy where you canned it for 90 minutes. Ugh. But beans, I went ahead. I do my dry bean method for this. It's not USDA approved, but I do dry beans sometimes. Sometimes I don't. It depends on what mood I'm in. The mood that I was in on this day was dry beans. I have a video for that if you want to look back into my canning playlist. So come on, let's get this started, and I'll talk you through how I did my meal. I always start my chicken soup out with celery and onions. I dice my onions up finely so they will disintegrate in my soup. My husband does not like the texture of onions. I layer these in the jar. However you want to layer it, you can layer it. It usually gets a little messy looking in the process of canning anyway. If I had carrots, I would add carrots with my potatoes in the jars, but I didn't have any, so I just chunked my potatoes up pretty chunky because I still want a bite of potato when I make my soup. The chicken that I used was a chicken tenderloin that I had thawed. I chunked it up. You can dice it finer. And then when you go to layer it in your jar, make sure you have it below the 1-inch head space. I like to keep it about a 1/4 inch below the head space because the chicken will also produce its own liquid when you can it. I used a 1/4 teaspoon for my spices. The ground turmeric that I'm putting in there now gives it beautiful color. And I used a scant quarter for each jar. It also gives it good flavor too, I think. And it's good for you. So that's a plus, plus, plus. Parsley, I did between a quarter and a half teaspoon. You put however much parsley in it you want. The thyme was about 1/8 of a teaspoon. I put it in my palm of my hand, and I take my fingers and I rub the thyme together so that it opens up those little leaves, and the flavor will be more wonderful in the jars. I learned that a long time ago. Sage is optional. You do not have to add sage, but I always put a pinch of sage to my soups. And then the ground pepper, you can also, it's up to you whether you put it in here or not. I might have added too much. Oops, missed the jar. I might have added a little bit too much for my husband, but I love pepper. I did not add salt because my broth has salt in it. It has, it's a bouillon broth. And if you notice, the chicken isn't allowing the bubbles to come up out of the jar. So I had to get my debubbler out and work at getting that liquid into the jar. I think I would have layered it differently next time. I wouldn't leave my chicken on top. Make sure it's all debubbled good. You've got enough liquid in there, about 1/4 inch below the 1-inch headspace. Because I like to make sure it seals properly. After it's all debubbled, I get my clean lids. Well, I clean the rim. I clean the rim with a water vinegar mixture. And then I put my clean lids on and rings, and I tighten them down finger tight. I place these in my electric canner. Now this is the same amount of minutes for a stovetop canner it is my electric. I lock the lid, I put it on exhaust, and I set it on high for 90 minutes. It's 90 minutes on a stovetop canner too. It's 75 for pint, 90 for quart. When it released all the steam, 10-minute steam, I put it on airtight, and then the 90 minutes starts, and then when it's processed, it says off, and I just unplug it. And I leave it there and let it sit for 1 hour. I open the lid away from me so it doesn't burn, the steam doesn't burn my face. I pull my jars out and look at the bubbles in these jars, I tell you. They will bubble like this sometimes for an hour afterwards, up to 2 hours. It depends on how well it was processed, I guess. I don't know. But I just love watching it. I think it's cool. It's not the prettiest jars, but it's very flavorful and it tastes delicious. I can't wait until I get to use these. Until next time, God bless you all. I'll see you again.